This is like not leaks. This is apparently like rumors, so there's no confirmation about this. There was a big rumor that came out earlier today from some pretty credible sources that are saying that the next NRS game is Mortal Kombat 12. Skipping potentially a Marvel thing or a DC thing.
No Injustice!
No Injustice. No MK versus
how
no
will I
DC.
outzone my opponent?
No DC versus Marvel.
Yeah, I did hear about it. I don't like it.
You don't like it?
I think it's too early.
It's going to be like 4 years by the time it gets to MK12, which will have been the same amount of time as like MK9 to MKX.
I think I'm looking at it from a story-wise perspective. I think that they should really think about how they want to.
Because they're at the point where they have to reboot.
Of course they are, because we already saw the damn ending.
Well, I mean, so the idea is that if the previous Mortal Kombat leaves off the fact that like Liu Kang isn't the chosen one anymore. It's essentially the older version of Kung Lao. Like the great Kung Lao. The great Kung Lao is now the chosen one.
Well, the point is that Liu Kang is the one who chooses who becomes the chosen one.
Sure. Well, Liu Kang is essentially playing a Raiden.
Yeah, he's
the new Raiden.
It's Mortal Kombat What If.
What if combat? What if Mortal Kombat?
Like, wow, that's a good idea.
Yeah, this is just
somebody tweeted that out. So now it's Mortal Kombat What If, and the story is going to be Mortal Kombat. Liu Kang's story and Shang Tsung's story combined.
How about let me throw.
And one of the universes will win.
Let me throw something at you though, Steve. So say it was still in canon. Would you be okay if it was, say, Shaolin Monks 2?
Oh, 100%.
As their next game.
You'd be down if it wasn't a fighting game?
It's not too soon then.
Not at all. Not at all. Give me.
So the rumor is that it is a new MK11.
Yeah,
MK12. Sorry.
I really think that after 11, and I don't want to say the debacle of 11, or I think they might be suffering from fighting game fatigue. I think they should probably try to move on to something else and then come back and revamp how they should do.
I think that's just your feeling because this is like the best-selling MK of all time.
Does that mean it's a good game, Kenny? The best-selling game of all time? Does that actually mean it's a good game?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
So guess what that means? That means that they think this is successful, and they'll probably try to do something similar again.
I think there's a hyper-awareness of some of the contention that has come as a result of the gameplay of Injustice 2 and MK11. Because here's the thing. I'm going to break it down to the most basic sinew of this conversation. Gameplay doesn't sell Mortal Kombat.
No, it does not.
Oh.
No, it does not.
Straight up, it does not.
No.
It eventually causes people to either be happy or pissed off or stop playing over time.
Sure.
But the visuals and the characters are what sell Mortal Kombat, and the content.
Presentation, presentation, roster, content.
Yes.
Yeah, and you would think roster relates to gameplay. It does not actually.
Right.
Because more characters, the better. Or weirder characters and more diverse characters and guest characters, the better.
Right.
Like, just those things alone will do it.
And I'm sure they're probably looking at it like, well, this doesn't really have as much of a big, vibrant, competitive scene.
Yeah.
But, like, competitive scene, like, it kind of exists, but, like...
It exists, but you really gotta pay attention.
Yeah, it's a good way of putting it.
In the same way that, Marvel Infinite competitive exists still.
Yeah.
You just have to really go pay attention to it, right?
Yeah,
you have to, focus on it if you want to go look for it.
Yeah.
The crazy part about this entire rumor mill is the fact that they wouldn't be doing, potentially, the big rumored Marvel game or a rumored, Injustice game, And it wouldn't even be Injustice versus DC, which I think the rumor guy said it's not that.
Right.
He said specifically, because of limitations of essential biz dev and deal making that happened over the past year, where NRS didn't know if it was going to get bought out, or they did not know if they'd be able to secure.
Because when that sale off from AT&T to Discovery or whatever,
apparently it had
even people in the industry were going, I don't fucking know what's going to happen.
Yeah, people didn't know.
Like there was a small period of time where people working in the game sector were like, I don't actually know what.
And you have to assume that when big deals and things like that happen, the big thing to assume is that if there's a big deal that you're hearing about where it's Microsoft's gonna buy fucking Sega, or Sony and Disney's buying Mortal Kombat, or some crazy thing like that.
Soulja Boy's buying Atari.
That isn't they just started talking about it and they're gonna sign some shit. No, those business deals are months to years in advance.
Yeah.
They've been talking and negotiating for so fucking long about every little piece and every little asset that's going to be distributed in every single way. It could take years to figure that shit out.
Yeah, and this was something I've been saying on all around all summer. the industry is fluid behind the scenes.
Yes,
Like
it's always
these
moving,
people are talking all the time. Like
and things are always changing.
Thinking about, do you think at this day and age, NetherRealm could just split off from WB and just do their own thing? They wouldn't have to be under WB.
Well, NetherRealm doesn't own Mortal Kombat. Warner
WB
Brothers does.
Yeah.
Warner Brothers bought Mortal Kombat
Jesus.
back in like 2007, 2008.
They just became the company that they hired to make Mortal Kombat.
Well, they bought NRS as a result. They bought them both. Yeah, anyway, like, I think it's pretty interesting to think if MK12 is actually their next game. It's actually, to me, not as fascinating as them doing a Marvel game, which, even if I'm a Marvel vs. Capcom fan, I'm pretty curious to see how NRS would approach a fucking Marvel franchise if it's not Injustice,
they
you know?
bring some hype, man. MK9 and MKX are crazy shit.
Well, how would they approach Marvel characters in fighting games? Because we already have a pretty good impression of what Marvel is like in a fighting game.
I mean, oh my god, could you imagine if they did like a Marvel versus Mortal Kombat and they played like
It'll most likely be Marvel versus DC.
Well, MK9 with the tag team system.
Oh, you mean something like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
that'd be
fucking
fantastic.
A.
That would be fucking.
Guess what? Well,
you're not getting.
Well,
that.
I
here's the
want
funny
it.
thing. It exists. You've played it in MK11. It's only in story mode. Remember that shit?
Yeah, that's
And it's literally the same, where it's like tag do a move, give me like an assist, and then bring him in later.
Yeah,
like
2v2
and guess what? It's super fucking fun.
Yeah.
Everyone just forgets that it's there.
Would Marvel fans be able to divorce MVC from another realm Marvel? No.
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 No. If anything, Capcom fans, at least hardcore, two very different audiences.
Yes.
Not hardcore, casually, nobody gives a fuck.
Yeah.
Nobody gives a fuck, dude. Like, casually, people are just looking for cool shit and cool characters and, you know, crazy modes and shit like that. Like, that's the most important thing.
I'll be honest here. Like, okay, when you're doing a Marvel game, like a Marvel video game, you need to, unless you're putting like fucking Sony money behind, like Spider-Man, is just to me the exception. When you're doing a fighting game or a game with a big roster of whatever type of game is, I really feel like you either need to go really, really colorful comic booky like Ultimate Alliance did,
Yeah.
or we really need to bite the bullet and go
Hyperrealism.
No, go for the fucking movies. Get the goddamn movie license.
Oh yeah, just get actor likeness.
Like I'm
likenesses,
kind of fucking like overdoing. Like a lot of game companies doing a realistic Marvel look, like they go for like a photorealistic look, but it's not based on the movies at all. It's just like
NRS technically already tackled this in the prime of a already established comic book hero heyday that was happening for its characters, and they completely redesigned how the characters looked, and it was Injustice 2. Because Injustice 2 has very lifelike, realistic looking people to a certain degree. But they are obviously not Henry Cavill, right?
No.
They're obviously not Ben
But you know
Affleck.
but it
so
helps
funny.
when your movies are trash. And
Yeah, I mean,
nobody cares about the DC
Yeah,
movies that much.
is the
and they're
reason because people just didn't give a shit or that much attachment to that stuff?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Greylay, thank you, dude. Is that the reason that everyone's
Yes.
cool with
And you know-
Injustice 2?
Yes.
And you know what, too? Because they have all these animated features that are better than the movies and all this other stuff. That
Yeah.
it's just, there is no fucking, like, line, you know?
Henry Cavill, I'm not saying Henry Cavill. There is a Henry Cavill costume in Injustice 1. All I'm saying is that the way Superman looks like in Injustice 2 when they had much better realistic faces,
Yeah.
that is not Henry Cavill. Like, they look very different. They have their own very distinct, like, visual style to all their faces, you know? And especially, like,
Yeah.
Batman and Flash and
Batman's kind
Wonder
of,
Woman.
you can get away with it because it's like, oh, you can take the Batfleck costume, put
NRS
it in
Marvel,
Injustice,
thank you.
put it in Injustice, and no one's like, well, that's not Ben Affleck. I'm like, oh, you know his fucking chin that well? It's like, it's just
Yeah,
his chin.
and I guess it's also because so many different people have portrayed those characters over the years that I think that's why there's a bit of apathy towards Marvel characters not looking like the actors, because those Marvel characters have been those actors for so long outside of Don Cheadle. And like Don Cheadle's like the one, and it was just one movie where it was a different guy.
Yeah,
and that was it.
man. They took me out of Marvel, man.
So yeah, I think that's kind of like one of the reasons that like an NRS Marvel game would be in a weird situation was that what do those characters look like? Like, they look like Injustice 2 versions of those characters, and would people be okay with that? Like,
Yeah, which is why I say if you're going realism, get the fucking movie rights.
yeah.
My personal opinion, and I mean, you can disagree with me if you want.
All right,
think.
I'm about to.
Okay, get ready. Get ready.
He's like, I'm
Get
ready.
Get ready.
I'm ready.
I just think they should take their time. I don't think they should rush MK12. Even though
I think
it's 4 years. It's been 4 years.
I think you're right, but they are.
I know that, and that's what's unfortunate.
Yeah, I think you are right.
Yeah.
Which is why it's kind of like, yeah, if this game came out in April, it is the longest time they have spent developing a fighting game since I don't even like literally over a decade. It might be actually 15 years.
Right. And from my perspective of the results of MK11, I think they should take their time.
I think you're right, but you're wrong.
All right then, that works. High five.
Funny thing about MK11 is that what outside of the gameplay issues you have with MK11 are not good. It's just the gameplay. Right?
No, I think it's the story as well.
I think
Yes, I think the story.
Really?
I think the fact that they rebooted it twice means that they ran out of ideas.
Well, they're essentially nullifying the MK9 reboot now.
Right,
Because
and
it's
that's-
gotten too crazy.
Right, and that was the point of MK Armageddon. They wanted to reboot everything. They wanted to have the final battle of everything and then restart everything from there. But they realized that they didn't want to lose the characters, so that's why they rebooted it again into MK9. And then MK9 happened, and then they're like, okay, we're going to do this story up until 11, and then, okay, now Liu Kang's the god, so everybody dies, reboot it again.
Here's the only argument I have for it.
What is going on
Is
here?
that, like, the first reboot as a result of, like, Armageddon was a path of a storyline that started from, like, original MK all the way until Armageddon, where shit hits the fan and it becomes, like, Secret Wars type shit.
Yeah, and it's
like, everyone's fucking fighting.
Yeah.
And then it gets rebooted. So that's, like, early 2010s-ish. Right?
Yeah.
So now we are a complete, and so that's like a decade plus of lore now changing and resetting. Now we're a decade later.
Yeah.
We are three games.
10 years.
It's been 10 fucking years since that shit happened.
Yeah.
You don't think that's enough time to pass for like another reboot?
It's just
3 games and a full decade?
how many franchises do you know reboot that often though? Even if it's been that long.
Street Fighter, literally every game.
Like every game is a reboot?
Practically.
That's why no one takes Street Fighter's story seriously. I think NetherRealm does take Mortal Kombat storyline pretty serious.
Which is why they spent 10 years working on that story.
Yeah.
3 full fucking games. To me, that's a lot.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's
more than Call of Duty storylines go for.
What do they do anyways?
exactly. Where do they go from here? That's what I'm saying. It's like, where do they go?
Well, no.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, I don't think there's much left to go.
In my brain, there wasn't much left to go with like the Shinnok storyline.
Exactly.
There wasn't, so they ended it.
Yeah.
So in my brain, they're actually doing exactly what you guys. I watched the fucking video that you guys were predicting that they wanted to do with Mortal Kombat 11 before we knew all the story details.
Right. Yes.
Where you guys wanted them to go back to before MK1. You wanted them to go back to the Great Kung Lao. You wanted them to, and that seems like what they're doing.
Yeah.
It seems like that they're like going pre-Liu Kang. We're gonna go pre-Sonya, pre-Johnny Cage. We're actually going to practically Street Fighter 3 this shit. We're gonna MK0 this motherfucker. We're gonna Alpha. We're gonna Street Fighter Alpha Mortal Kombat, which hasn't happened before. They always go forward, right? They go forward or alternate, right?
Yeah.
So to me, that seems like they haven't gotten that. If that's the direction they go, I think that could be kind of fucking. Because what's the only other game that did that and it was kind of sick? It was Shaolin Monks.
Yeah,
Shaolin Monks is like, hey, let's revisit these characters, like,
and get deep into the story of these particular characters. Yeah. I love the idea of that. I think that they, Mortal Kombat movie. I said this before. I'll say it again. Keanu Reeves playing Kenshi in a full-on movie just about him would be fucking amazing. Yeah, like just focus on some of the characters. There's so much lore behind all these different characters. Make a movie about the story of Katana and Mileena. Yeah. You don't have to worry about all the other fucking characters. You don't have to do that. Just do something like that.
Do something with them alone.
You don't have to fit them all into a fucking giant story and then try to build a story around it.
I think the problem is that
goes so far.
I think the problem is that the risk of making a Mortal Kombat game franchise that is not a fighting game, which has like 4 big fighting games now that have done well, and the ventures that they have in the past of being not fighting games, which is essentially 2 PlayStation 1 games that sucked, and 1 PlayStation 2 game that sold kind of well, which was Shaolin Monks. Yeah. But it has a lot of like reverence now. People love Shaolin Monks and want to see shit come back.
Yeah.
And NRS doesn't make these choices, WB does. And they're like, so how much money do you want to do that? No.
No.
WB's like,
they're scared. Yeah, they're scared.
No. You make Mortal Kombat. Like, I feel like that's what's happening now with like, if the next game is an MK12, I think that makes a lot more sense because it is a WB-owned franchise.
Yeah. And
Injustice does exist, so it's like, why isn't it Injustice 3? Well, we're WB, and you know what? Mortal Kombat X, Mortal Kombat 11, sold pretty good.
Exactly.
Injustice 1 and 2 sold okay.
Yeah.
But Mortal Kombat 11.
Yeah, sold really well.
Do you guys want to make Injustice?
Let's do that.
You make Mortal Kombat 12, and it'll sell even more.
Yeah.
And the previous one, like, so that's where I think a lot of like this stuff could be real.
Yeah.
I think it really boils down to the fact that like WB gets to make the ultimate choice. And why would they keep making Injustice games that sell us half as much as the Mortal Kombat games potentially?
Right.
Oh, we put in $10 million and we make Injustice and we make 30. But if we put $10 million in Mortal Kombat,
Exactly.
we make 90 million. Why do we why do we have a thing? We make more money.
So number one,
we make more money.
And you're right. You're right.
know?
But your numbers are a little off. It's
Yeah,
like
of
here's
course.
100 million.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah,
Here's
no,
like
for
90
sure.
to 100 million to
Yeah.
make a Mortal Kombat or Injustice 3.
Yeah.
When the return that we know on an Injustice can about reach so much.
Yeah.
But if we put
It's like a
that
numbers
same
thing.
money, into a Mortal Kombat, the return value is this much. So it's like, why are we doing that
And
one?
my issue with that is the Activision mentality, where they're like, "Hey, this thing is successful. Let's milk it until it's fucking done."
Yeah, and I think this probably
And
maybe
that's my problem.
That's a fear, maybe.
Yeah.
That, if they just do it, let's say the idea is like you
Endless
make
Mortal Kombat.
MK12,
Yeah,
But the
it's
thing
successful.
and you're
Mortal
expecting
Kombat.
it to be more successful than 11,
But the
Yeah.
thing
and
is,
then it's not.
it's
And
not
then what
Nether-
happens?
It's
Exactly.
not
And then the
NetherRealms.
usual, yeah.
It's not NetherRealms to sit. It's
No, it's WB.
No, I know, yeah.
So,
But it's
you
like
know.
you make MK12 all right after MK11.
Yeah.
And then MK12 isn't somehow able to reach the sales of MK11.
Sure.
And then WB goes, well, you guys just aren't. You're just not
Producing
doing.
well,
You're just
yeah.
not doing it anymore.
Yeah,
Like then what happens? Does like Mortal Kombat go into hibernation?
right.
You know,
Exactly.
does-
Maybe
I,
that's
I would assume.
Well, to be honest, Mortal Kombat goes into hibernation every fucking other game.
But I don't mean like for like 2 years or 4 years. I mean like it goes away.
Well, it goes away every 5 years technically.
too easy.
Like it takes a long time for MK to come back once one is out. It's like MKX came out in 2015, and then it wasn't until 2019 another Mortal Kombat came out. So it's like a practical half decade.
But the thing is, too, we're looking at us. We're not looking at the general public, man.
Yeah, and the idea is, like, casually,
fucking
who's important.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat is like, the pop. I'm not saying in a bad way. It's like the pop music. It is just fucking popular.
Yeah.
We're talking
It's
about
poppy.
us. But like the thing is, there's a just constant new generation of younger people, and like people are like, damn,
That'll
I just
just
gotta
commit.
get it. I got the ninjas and how good it looks.
But shockingly, it's a
Yeah.
fighting game franchise where the audience has not shrunk over the years.
Yeah.
It's only gotten
Right.
bigger.
It's only gotten bigger.
Right?
So, like, what? Meanwhile, we might think like it's like COD. It's like, oh, it's like, oh my god, they just keep coming in another one, and CODs get bigger and just bigger and bigger.
Yeah, but we
COD's
don't,
an anomaly.
But we don't. Yeah, we don't say that about Guitar Hero. We don't say that about Tony Hawk. Like Activision has consistently milked whatever they've had to the point where it's completely fried, and they just move on to the next
Yeah,
thing.
well,
I don't want that to happen to
they're
Mortal Kombat.
lucky as shit that COD
They're
still,
super lucky.
They're
Activision
super lucky.
is super
Yeah.
lucky.
However,
But the-
they're
I don't think it's as
independent.
bad as a Call of Duty situation because that's like a yearly fucking thing.
Yeah,
like
they're-
that's like they're really going as much little time as
Yeah.
possible
Oh,
in
yeah.
between.
Going super hard.
This even if MK12 was the game and there's a new Mortal Kombat that does launch in like early 2022,
Yeah.
it's still 3 fucking years since the last game.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
that's a
wow.
long time. Like that's
a while,
way
dude.
longer than even
But
Call
you're-
of Duty
you're-
games get. I think hearing that they might be approaching a new Mortal Kombat as like a follow-up, like their next game isn't anything in between, it's just a Mortal Kombat, I think that's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
I'm like,
with
damn,
it.
another MK, like, it feels like already. And we use that a lot, like, oh man, it's happening already, but it's been 3 fucking years.
Yeah.
It's been a long, it doesn't feel like it's been a long time because of the world.
the DLC.
Yeah, and that game got a lot more content, like a
Yes.
year's worth more content than they usually does get, but it has been 3 fucking years, and that's a pretty substantial amount of time to like reevaluate how the hell they're gonna make a new game.
Yeah.
I'm like in the boat that whatever NRS is working on, it's at the Game Awards at the end of the year, the same way MK11 was revealed back in.
So they'll announce it.
They'll announce it at the end of this year, and it'll probably drop within 5 months after that.
Yeah, because they said it changes it up that when they talk about the game, there's not this weird big gap of.
Of like here's a KOF trailer every
Yeah.
like few weeks.
and then all of a sudden it's like
just a
total
trailer,
black.
and you're just like,
But
we
yeah.
don't even know what the fuck the game looks like, dude. We like, what does the UI look like? We've waited like 8 months, and
Yeah.
we might
I
see what the
can't
UI
wait
looks
for
like.
some more-
Soldier Boy.
Yeah, I can't wait for
Soulja
some.
Boy's gonna do
I can't wait for some more fucking Wiz Khalifa and
Soulja
21
Boy.
Savage fucking music.
Although,
coming in for
you know,
that game.
Anyway, I'd be kind of excited for Mortal Kombat Alpha.
Yeah.
Like, I think
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat 0, like I think that'd be pretty fun.